Proportional Response, Book 1. Chapter 24, Part 12, A Little Vengeance. Fearadhach made herself tiny against the wall and used her ears to track the guards as they walked, stomped. She stood at the corner of a four-way intersection, the last one between her and her target. The two guards reached the intersection and one stomped straight ahead, the other turned opposite her and stomped away. She moved for the one who had turned while signaling Doc to take care of the other. A hand on her snout, a bit of knife work, and the guard gurgled while he fell. Fearadhach snorted in contempt. Any competent security would have life monitoring on their guards, but we have killed over half of them, and no one has noticed. Of course, if they didn't follow rigid patrol routes, a movement out of the corner of her eye caught her attention, but she looked and saw nothing. She began to move over to investigate, but changed her mind. Whatever it was doesn't seem to pose a threat. All the alarms would already have gone off. Her eyes slitted a little. We just don't have time. She moved back to the intersection of the halls and found Doc waiting. He cocked an inquisitive eyebrow at her, and she gave him the signal for possible danger behind us. Be watchful. At last, they reached the final door, and she took a slow, deep but quiet breath to steady herself. After all these years, I will face the woman who murdered my mother and banished me to that hell world. She prepared to shove the doors open, but voices caught her attention.
So, the price is agreed. Here, the money is in this case. You can take it and count it if you wish, and I will take your daughter now. She is such a lovely specimen. My mother will just love this child.
The voice of a child, a girl of no more than 10, by the sound of it, answered.
No, Mommy, please. Don't let them take me away. I will be a good girl. I promise. I will take care of.
Fearadhach saw red. Now, on the edge of my vengeance, and I walk in on this. She kicked the door open, and she saw the face which had been etched into her memory as though chiseled in stone. The woman who her mother had refused and had sent her off to be hunted. Movement out of the corner of her eye brought a reflexive shot, and she heard the last remaining guard crumple. Her eyes then, finally, noticed the mother and daughter standing before her target. The mother might have gained some mercy if she had moved to protect her daughter, but the woman moved to put the child between them instead. Fearadhach snarled and felt her eyes go an even darker red. She grabbed the child with more force than she really intended, and practically threw the kid at Doc.
Get this kid out of here. Fast.
She snarled the words, never taking her eyes off of the two women still in the room. The mother stood with her hands up, shaking. The other woman stood there in her silks and jewelry and stared imperiously. Fearadhach advanced on them slowly, waiting for Doc to get the child out the door. No reason for the whelp to see this. Her prey spoke.
What in the name of the vote is the meaning of this? Who do you think you are?
She heard Doc reach the hall, turn, and get the kid out of sight. She turned her red eyes on the mother.
Sell your own child to a voter's depravity? You are no better than them.
She brought her pistol around and put a pulse through the mother's head. She then turned to her nemesis, to the woman responsible for all of the pain. All the evil in her life willed her eyes to go an even deeper red, and advanced a single step. The woman lost her bravado and put her hands up.
No! I don't know what you are doing, who you are, or why you would break in here like this, but you can't possibly expect to get away with killing me. Look, I can overlook you killing my guards and getting this plebes blood all over my fine carpets. Let's make a deal, shall we? I can be imminently reasonable. Just put the pistol down.
Fearadhach advanced another step and let the pistol fall to the floor.
There will be no deal, bitch. You sent me to be hunted like an animal. You murdered my mother because she refused to be taken to your bed. You are a monster, the epitome of everything wrong about voters. You.
The woman's eyes widened and she shook her head.
You are that damnable child my mother couldn't find on the hunt. All this time, I thought you'd gotten your fool self killed in the 2 days my mother had been delayed in heading out after you. Do you have any idea how disappointed she was? How long it took for me to...
The woman's voice cut off as Fearadhach let her claws come out and advanced further.
Wait. No, I'm sorry. That was senseless of me to say, wasn't it? You have to understand, though.
For years, Efanth had dreamed of this moment, rehearsed things that this monster might say, rehearsed the things she'd spit in the woman's face before she killed her. She had an entire speech planned, describing the moral failing and depths of turpitude of the woman's soul. Some part of her mind brought up all of the variations of that speech, every angry damning word, and threw them aside. No point yelling at the dead. She launched herself with a wordless scream and landed on her prey. She started by blinding the woman, then began to tear at her flesh in a frenzy. By the time she came back to herself, she had a lot of blood on her, and the carpet had been redecorated in a satisfying shade of green. The blind, hobbled, mutilated woman she'd been attacking managed to moan and try to move without success. Doc had returned to the room at some point during her frenzy and stood between her and the rest of their crew. She didn't see the child and didn't care. Doc looked at the writhing woman and made an unpleasant face.
Shouldn't we put her out of her or our misery and get out of here? I know we disabled their alarms, but we don't know how well this place is monitored from outside.
A voice, a non-Zoltan voice, floated in from the corridor. Efanth turned surprised eyes to the hallway and saw a human female step into view. The woman wore a strange, rather tight bodysuit which managed to seem skin-tight, suggest some sort of minimal armor, and be not revealing at all despite the tightness. The outfit consisted of dim, muted colors, none of them black, and left only the woman's eyes showing. She spied a set of some sort of eyewear on the woman's forehead though. The woman's tone was clipped and no nonsense.
You have a little time, in truth. We have spoofed the feed from this compound to the monitoring station and expect at least another half hour before anyone detects it, unless there is a random call made. Not likely, given that's...
The human gestured dismissively at the woman writhing on the floor.
Reputation and general social standing. That should give you and yours plenty of time to get clear of this place while me and mine do the rest of what we came here to do. Don't worry about this trash. We will polish it off. I presume you want to take the kid with you.
Efanth shook her head and glared at the human.
What are you doing here? Making sure you succeed in your mission, to start? Or did you not realize that this place had a third more guards than your briefing had told you?
I
didn't ask for help, human.
The woman shrugged.
Which is fine, we provided it anyway, because our goals were aligned. My team had orders to eliminate her and raid this place for its data archives and the archives it is connected to if we got the opportunity. You and yours coming in here like a wrecking ball provided an excellent opportunity. The fact that we also helped you is simply incidental. Now, about that child.
The human kept questioning eyes on her, but also pulled her sidearm and started to point it at the voter she'd just spent such energy injuring. She stepped between the human and her quarry and lowered her snout slightly.
I have no desire to coddle that mewling brat, human. Take her with you. I expect that you and yours can show her better gentleness than I. What? You thought I'd go all soft and bubbly at the sight of some child who had a terrible mother? Boo-hoo. At least, the little blighter didn't have to watch her mother be blown away, and has been saved from whatever this cretin had planned for her. I don't want the little squirt, but we'll take her out of here if you insist. We can drop her off somewhere relatively safe, I'm sure.
She blinked in surprise as Doc spoke up.
I will deal with the child, human. It is fine. I will find a refugee who is on the way out who will take the kid in. Shouldn't be hard to do.
Doc then turned to her.
Don't worry, boss. I am not going soft on you, nor expecting you to go mushy on the kid. Simple practicality says that the kid goes with us, so she does.
The human nodded, apparently considering the matter settled.
I now suggest and request that you and yours get away from here as quickly as you can. My orders will have me here right up until the moment that the Republic response to this, whatever it ends up being, arrives. It will be easier for us to get out of here if we don't have to be concerned about what you are doing.
Efanth narrowed her eyes at the human and then shrugged. I don't know how what she states could possibly be the case, but I don't really care either. She turned to her crew.
We are done here. Someone pick that filth up. and bring her with us. We are going to dump her somewhere away from civilization and filthy and let her die of wound."
The woman on the ground apparently understood her, moaned, and muttered something about being put out of her misery. Efinth rounded on her and stamped on the ruins of the woman's hand, then got down, right in her broken face.
"Out of your misery? Out of your misery? I will teach you misery, you worthless hag. Can you imagine the misery of having to drag that tracker out of—"
A loud pop sounded behind her, and a hole appeared in her quarry's head. The woman's eyes glazed over, and her head rolled back. Fenth spun in fury, claws out, and found the human now had a weapon pointed at her.
"Humanity does not condone torture, even of the likes of that, and will not stand by and allow it. You have her life, you have made her suffer, and you are wasting. I do not want to kill you. Our analysis has good odds that you will continue to prove an asset to the fight, but—"
Efanth lifted one side of her mouth in a snarl, but didn't even bother to give the human a real glare. She gestured curtly to her team and left. She studiously ignored Doc picking up the child.